What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yugioh Sevens episode review. Today, guys, we are going to be going over episode 53 of Yugioh Sevens, the first episode of season 2. I am very excited to be getting into this episode. However, we are going to be doing this video a little bit different, as we are not just going to be going over episode 53. I am also going to be going over opening 2 and ending 2 as kind of a 3-in-1 video. The reason I'm doing this is that I never did a separate video for the opening and ending, and I wanted to kind of make this review a little bit more special since this is the first episode of the brand new season. So I thought the best way to do that is to combine the opening thoughts and then the ending thoughts for this new season in the actual review. So I'm going to be going over the opening, the ending, and the review all in this one video, doing the episode 53 review. And basically how the structure is going to go is I'm going to go over the opening first, then I'll go over the ending, then I will actually get into the review portion of this video since that's going to be the longer segment of this video. So with all that said, without further ado, guys, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into it. So we're going to be starting off this video with the opening, and generally speaking, what were my thoughts on the opening? I loved the opening. I thought the opening was great, music-wise and actually visual-wise. I really did love this opening quite a bit. In fact, I think this opening definitely overshot opening 1. I definitely like this opening a lot more than opening 1. And don't get me wrong, opening 1 was great for what it was, but in my opinion, it lasted a little bit too long, and the song ended up kind of getting repetitive for that. Still a nice song that you can probably toe tap to, but I don't know, it just kind of got a little bit old for me, and it was a little bit hard for me to actually get into the song. I think it was a little bit towards the second arc where I actually got into the song, and then it kind of went downhill because, you know, they wouldn't stop playing the opening song for the first 52 episodes, excuse me. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of got a little bit old for me, but the song for me right away just hit. I really did like the song. The Brown Beats, who are the people that actually did it, they did a phenomenal job on the opening. I thought they did very good. And the visuals, we got quite a bit of visuals with this, and I will talk about the monsters in just a second for the Yugioh siblings because a lot of stuff ended up coming up from that, and even the shot with the Yugioh siblings, and I'll get into that in just a second. But we'll quickly go over the beginning part of this. The opening shot just saw your main 4 at the beginning, and then you saw Sevens, Road Magician, and Rush Dragon Jagears actually facing off against each other, which is very interesting, before the actual logo for Yugioh Sevens actually ended up appearing. So that was a pretty nice shot. Then we actually get to see, you know, you saw Yugioh, you saw Luke, and then Yuga, not Roman, but we'll get into that in just a second. But before I actually get into the other shot, before we can get into the girls, because again, a lot ended up happening in this opening, let me talk about the scene that we got with Yugioh for a second, because that scene really concerns me. We saw Yugioh as he was the first shot in the opening. He's just, I think he was running forward, and then, and it was for a brief second, we saw him in his Gakutin form. Why in the living hell is he back on the Gakutin form? For people that don't know, I despise Gakutin. I never liked it when it was introduced. I think it's as bad as Roman's Berserk mode that she had in the first, basically the first season until the last arc. And I just despise this. I don't know why this ended up being a concept. I understand he was nervous, but come on, there was no reason for this. Does that mean when he faces off against one of the Yugioh siblings, he's gonna end up going back into this Gakutin form again? Like, what is he doing? Why are we bringing this concept back, or even mentioning this concept? Just leave it alone. Like, maybe it's just because I hate it, and I'm sorry if you like the Gakutin thing. I just cannot agree with you. I don't understand why this is a concept, and I don't understand why they needed to bring it back, because if you wanted to do the transformation shift, like him going into his Shigetsu style like robe, I completely understand that. You know, he does that every time he set the duel, But why specifically the Gakuji thing? That makes me believe that when he duels in this season, he's going to be using the Gakuji form instead of his Suigetsu style form, like the one we all knew since the very beginning. It bothers the living hell out of me that we're actually going to be seeing this concept back to any degree, even if it's for one episode. There was no reason why you needed to bring back this concept. Similar if they brought back Roman's Berserk mode, there is no reason why you need to bring that concept back into the show. But we had that scene, you had the Luke and Yugioh scene. And we got a scene with a whole bunch of male characters, and there were a few characters that were removed from this. You had Khan's group that was removed, and you had Bakuro's group that was removed, and Django's group, which was just him and then his other guy friend. They did not appear in this opening, which is a good thing. I know if these are characters that you do love, it might be disappointing, but they needed to shorten down on the cast. There was no way they were going to be able to function this season with having every single character from Season 1 and Season 2, plus the 6 Goha siblings and Guru. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And any potential characters that we'll see going forward in Season 2 that we did not get to be shown in the opening, it just would have been way too crowded, and there was no reason why every character should come back. So even though you don't like even if you do like the character, it doesn't mean that they're gone forever. They can come back, but for the time being, they're probably not going to be in this season. But it's a good thing. It just makes sure that you shorten the cast a little bit. That way you can grow your new villains, and maybe you can focus more on the more important characters of the story, like Yuga and Luke and Roman and Gakuto, your main four, Roa, Neil, Asana, and even Metsuboro's group. I feel like they've tried to kind of grow themselves as well, so it's a good thing that you brought them back as well. So it's just a good thing for Sevens in general, just to push some of your side characters to the side for once, and just bring one group of side characters and just leave the other side group characters behind. Don't worry, they can come back sometime in the future, but they just needed to shorten it for the time being. Then we saw a similar shot, but with the girls this time. You saw Roman, you saw Mimi, Ronze, Asana, Tiger, and then you saw the Ko's, which is very interesting, and this probably breaks a theory that I've been seeing going around for a little while now, that these girls are the same character. I never fully believed that. I was more on the belief that these characters were different, but they were hiding the fact that they knew each other. And I understand the whole thing with that. It was like, okay, if they knew each other, why did we never see them together at any point during the show? Well, they clearly didn't want to let us know that these characters knew each other, but they kind of gave that hint with the whole Chikaku line that Sweet Chikaku made when she dueled Nick Yagi. So it's very interesting that we do see those four characters. Not saying it's out of the possibility. Maybe it's just showing all the different versions, but they are one character. It can still be a possibility, but in my opinion, I do believe they are four separate characters, but they're hiding the fact that they know each other. That's what I do believe. But then we got the girl shot as well, and then you also saw Sujiko actually in that shot as well. Then you see Swirly in the opening, which I guess now we're calling him Swirly because even the subtitles are calling it Swirly, so generally, I don't know anymore. This is the third time it's happened, so I'm just done. Whatever the subtitles end up calling it, that's just what I'm going to call it, or whatever I want to call it, because God, I'm sick and tired of their names getting changed. Luke had this case happen to him. Schwer ended up having this whole thing ended up coming to him, and Swirly ended up getting the same treatment as well, with their names getting changed. So at this point, I'm just done with it. Then you got a weird shot with a lizard-looking man that was all shadowed out. I don't know what that whole scene was. I've heard a lot of people say it might be the monster for the new summoning mechanic, whether it's an old one or new. That doesn't really matter. That's up to your opinion. It's just whatever the new mechanic is going to be. So that's very interesting if that's the case, that they're actually showing this, and maybe that means that when the actual opening ends up coming out, or when that monster ends up coming out, then maybe that card will actually be shown. Kind of similar back in the Vrains opening 1 when Borolo Dragon was kind of in this weird black and green looking color before it actually got shown to us in the actual Yugioh Vrains anime, and they actually finally decided to color out Borolo Dragon. So that's why I feel like that situation is going to be. Then you see the shot with the Goha siblings before we end up seeing their ace monsters as well. But before I get into the ace monsters, let's talk about that whole theory that's been going around with the Goha siblings and Yuga. We saw that silhouette character in this opening, which was very interesting, and because of that, a lot of speculation, which it happened since the beginning when that poster ended up getting shown to us, that this sixth Goha sibling is Yuga. That theory has been thrown around to all hell. And honestly, I can see it. I really can. He has the U name in it, which all of the Goha siblings do have that, which is very interesting, but it's not the first time we saw this. R5 did it with, Yuto, Yugioh, and Yuri, which they are more so from the dub version of it, but they kind of have the U sound in it, and then you have Yusho and Yuzu. So, this is not the first time we've seen other characters with the U name. But Yuga being a member of the Goha siblings also kind of backs up that it's not the first time that we've seen a main protagonist on the villain side before, or becoming a villain. Think of Yugi when he got possessed by the CL Orichalcos, Judai when he became the Supreme King Hao, Yuma when he became Dark Zexal, and then you had Arc 5 as Yuya was a part of Zark, which was the main antagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. So it's not like we've never seen this before, so that is a very big possibility, and even people saying that the hair looks similar to him, I can see it a little bit, but I don't really go off of that much. I just more go off the U name and the fact that we've seen protagonists become villains before, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Then we get to see the ace monsters as well, which very interesting ace monsters that we get to see for this new group. But I want to specifically talk about one monster, and that is the monster that we see that looks like it's on a baseball field, and it looks like he's hitting a baseball, and he have like baseballs kind of homing around it. This was shocking to me because obviously this card very closely resembles number 39 Utopia. That clearly is what this card is referencing. There's no way you can tell me this card is not a reference to number 39, which, yes, I am saying this is not actually number 39 Utopia. A lot of people actually surprisingly think this is Utopia and that we're going to get Xyz. That's not the case for two reasons. One, I feel like it would be weird for a main antagonist to be using a ace monster, but to be fair on that one isn't really that viable because of the fact that Otis kind of uses legend cards, and he's, well, I don't know, he's a little bit in the weird spot, which we'll get into in the review, but I don't know, I just cannot see it. And another reason why, and this is probably my main reason, is that if they bring Utopia to this game, you're bringing Xyz, which to me just makes no sense whatsoever. Because of and you guys know I've been obligated to want to see any type of old mechanic into the game, but I've stated before that if there's going to be an old mechanic in this game, it has to start with fusions. There's no way they're just going to do randomly Xyz and then just do fusion and synchro. That makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. So this, in my opinion, is going to be a rehash card similar to what Diane Keto ended up getting with, Diane Keto, the Gold Digging Master, and the Prison Master. That's what I believe that this Utopia is going to be. And even the other ace monsters of these of the Goha 6 or the 6 Goha siblings, I do believe is the same case as well, which let me go over the cards that these new supposed ace monsters are referencing. The first one we see is Goddess of Reversal, then we saw the Utopia one, then we saw Levia Dragon Diagolas, I think that's how you're supposed to say it, I could be completely wrong on that, and then you see the Millennium Shield, and at the end of this opening we do see another monster, which to me it looks like a Mecha Phantom Beast, but I don't know if that's actually what that card is. I don't think Mecha Phantom Beasts are going to be coming to Rush Duels. That deck is just a little bit too confusing for Rush Duels. It has effects that or more than one, so I don't believe they're going to be coming to Rush Duels, but it looks like a Mecha Phantom Beast monster, or if you're more fan of the Vrains anime, it looks like one of Blood Shepherd's drones, which I think we actually got an announcement that a card was going to be coming out in the Rush Duels, and they actually mentioned Blood Shepherd's drone, so I think that's kind of hilarious. But those cards, in my opinion, although you can make the fair argument that they are the original monsters, I do believe that they are rehashes of their former selves. That's what I really do believe. But that's really it for the opening. We don't really see much else in this opening, but we've already gone plenty much all that I can say in regards to this opening. I mean, again, there was a lot to this opening. So with all of that being said, I think I'm going to cut it off there. I loved the opening. I thought it was great. A lot of visuals were shown in this opening. It caused a lot of speculation with the whole Utopia-looking monster, with Yugioh being a member of the Goa siblings. I mean, this opening was just great, but I think we've talked about the opening long enough. Let's get into the ending of Yugioh Sevens, ending 2, more specifically. But now we're going to be getting into the ending 2 discussion portion of this video, and generally speaking, what were my thoughts on ending 2? I liked ending 2. I thought it was a very good ending. I really did enjoy the song-wise. Visuals I can't really say much on, but to be fair, when it comes to endings, they're not really meant to show a whole bunch of visuals. That's what more towards the opening. The opening is more to show that, and the ending is just more of a nice way to end the episode off. That's the only purpose of an ending. It's just a nice way to end off the episode. So in terms of doing that, I think they did do good on that, though. It's very funny because the first half of this ending, my god, which, by the way, the song that they did for this opening, I cannot remember who did this ending. I do apologize to the band that did this ending. I know it's a very long name, and I know I would not be able to pronounce the name of it, but shout outs to the people that did this ending, because this was a very toe-tapping song. I actually did enjoy the ending song quite a bit. Now, I will say this, I like this special ending song more, but this one was still a very nice ending song. I really did like this, but my god, the first half of this entire ending was just the Rush Duel robot doing stretches. That's it. Literally, the first half of this ending was just the robot stretching. With the beginning scene, we also did see the Goha sibling ship flying down to Earth. So we did see that, but it was just for a couple of seconds. So that was only the significant difference for this super robot, or this super rush robots scene that we ended up getting in the ending. I think that's what it's called. But that, when I saw that scene for the first time of just a Rush Duel robot doing stretches, I was in shock. Not just because of the fact that I was like, oh my god, what are they doing? This is crap. I was just in shock because I didn't know what I was watching at that point. After that ended up happening, I was just sitting there just laughing because I didn't know what in the world just happened, because I was not expecting to go into that ending and it was just a Rush Duel robot for half of the ending just doing stretches. I just found that hilarious to me. And then you saw the shot of the Rush Duel robot actually flying across the Earth. You know, you see the little miniature version of the Earth, and it's just spinning, and the Rush Duel robot is just going around the Earth. And then you also see like the chibi versions of Yuga, Roman, Luke, Gagato, Roa, Nail, Asana, Mimi, and Tiger. Now those two were probably the most interesting ones out of the entire bunch. Mimi's not really surprising because of the fact that she does work for Goha, and she's working for President Drone, which might have some connection to these Goha siblings. I have really no idea. I'm just still kind of holding out hope for that. So Mimi, I guess maybe is not as surprising, but Tiger did surprise me quite a bit that she did appear in the ending, which makes me believe that maybe she is going to be a lot more relevant than I was originally thinking. But you know what? Is that a bad thing? Not at all. Not whatsoever. I think it would be really cool to see Tiger do quite a bit more in this upcoming season. Maybe she faces off against one of the Goha siblings. I think that would be very cool if she actually did get some involvement against this main threat. I think that would be really cool. But probably my favorite thing about this ending and the most notable thing of this ending was the shot of Yugioh, Luke, Roman, and Gakuto and Kaizo just laying in the grass. And also I think we saw Kaizo as well, but Kaizo doesn't really have a chibi version of himself because he's already kind of small. But we also did see him in that whole scene of the Rush Duel robot just going around the earth. But what made me like that ending shot so much was because it was such a parallel to one of the Arc 5 endings. I believe it's ending 4. I could be wrong on that. If I am wrong on that, feel free to yell at me in the comments because I'm just bad at remembering Arc 5 endings. I'm just going to be honest, I'm bad when it comes to endings and remembering stuff. I just remember openings a little bit more than endings, so maybe I'm wrong on the ending. But it was a very cool reference to the Arc 5 ending, and yeah, is there any significance to it? Not at all, but I just think that's a really nice reference to that ending shot in Arc 5. And even if it wasn't intentional because of this being a different studio, the fact that you kind of have a parallel to that, I think is very cool. But other than that, that's just going to be it. Again, there's not really much to talk about in the ending. So with that being said, let's get into the actual episode 53 review portion of this video. So generally speaking, what were my thoughts on episode 53 of Yugioh Sevens? I thought it was alright. I wasn't really high on the episode, which is completely fine. You know, we just got back from the last arc with all those high-octane duels, that this one is just kind of like a get-me-by duel episode, I guess you can say, which is completely fine because this is just to kind of settle us into the new season. We don't need to be in these high-octane duels like we were for the last 4 episodes. This is just supposed to be an episode where we can just relax after everything that just ended up happening and just have a more chilling and relaxing episode, which is completely fine. We need to have those kind of episodes. So I felt like this episode, for that reason, I think it did its job well. But the episode starts off very interesting as we kind of see Goha City in complete destruction. It was a very weird scene to kick off season 2, but we do eventually learn out that there isn't much to this as we find out this is a dream by Yuga. But we see Goha City about to be destroyed by a meteor, and Luke, Roman, and Gakuto, we do see them. They are freaking about the whole situation. I mean, a meteor is going to crash into Earth. I mean, why the heck wouldn't you? But Yuga's able to come and save the day as he's able to use his robot to be able, the Super Rush Duel robot, to basically stop the meteor from crashing onto Earth, and is able to save Goha City from being destroyed. But we do find out that it's a dream, so in the end, it doesn't really matter. But he wakes up from the dream very similar to the first episode, where he actually dreams about the Rush Duel robot, ends up hitting his head on the lamp, and then goes on in something involving Rush Duels. The first episode showed him kind of like trying to hack into the Goha Corporation to try to install Rush Duels, while this time, now that Rush Duels are installed, we see him going onto his tablet, and Flash Umiko is basically giving the news about the whole situation with the giant robot being on the moon, which we already knew from the last episode. So I guess it was just kind of recapping us from what happened in the last episode, which is completely fine. But we didn't see Yuga riding to school. He ends up running into his 2 friends in the process. And basically that whole montage of him was just kind of talking about how Rush Duels have been since the Team Battle Royale tournament. And Rush Duels have been more popular than ever because of the fact of that Team Battle Royale tournament being such a popular thing for the people. And even when Rush Duels were getting uninstalled and you see everyone cheering Rush Duels, Rush Duels, Rush Duels during that last episode, we kind of saw how much of an impact was from the last episode, and now I guess it's showing it even more now that a lot more people are playing Rush Duels than ever. So that's a very good thing, and in return, Yuga has now basically accomplished his goal. Because think about it, his whole entire purpose of the show since the beginning was to create Rush Duels so that everyone can enjoy this new style of dueling. And he's accomplished that, and I feel like that just makes him very happy. We kind of see that when he was in the conversation with his group. Then we get to see the perspective of Luke, Roman, and Gakuto, and kind of how they've been since the Team Battle Royale tournament. And Luke is acting probably the way everyone expected, to be a little little bit arrogant. I mean, he ran into two kids and asked them what his name was, and basically forced the kids, or said, made it to where the kids said it in fear, where they said King of Duels, or yeah, King of Duels, Luke, and then his last name, I can't remember his last name to save his life. For some reason, Tiger and Luke's name, I cannot actually remember their actual names for just some reason, but I guess that's just what happens when you have like a nickname for these characters. You're just gonna call them by their nicknames. But then after that whole like thing ended up happening, he goes to the two kids, goes around them, and basically asks them to join, if they would like to join the Rush Duel Club. And obviously they decline because they're terrified out of their mind. And that's the funny thing to think about it. Luke is now the king of duels right now. We all know this from the last episode, and he still cannot get people to join his Rush Duel Club, which I find hilarious. I mean, he's terrifying these kids to the point where we see that entire group of kids, they all just run away. They run away from the whole entire situation, and they were just not wanting to really deal with it. We also do get to see Roman and Gakuto's kind of side of things after the whole tournament, and they're a little bit interesting because although, yeah, they're happy that they won the tournament, but they're not really happy at the same time either, because they basically helped Otis with their plans and almost got Rush Duels uninstalled, so they kind of feel a little guilty about the whole situation. I mean, they were discussing this with Tiger because they also wanted to try to get Luke to stop doing this because it was really not a good name for him, and they just find it really annoying. I mean, Roman literally told Tiger she wanted him to punish him as hard as she can, basically make him feel hell. And Gakuto is like, no, that we don't need to do that. We just need to stop him from being a little bit arrogant. And Tiger just agreed with Roman and said, you know what, I'll make this the most painful thing ever. And I was thinking like she was literally going to go and beat the crap out of this kid, but we'll find out later on that wasn't the case. But they're just basically talking to Tiger about the whole thing and kind of how they've been feeling. And she understands that because of what ended up happening. She can understand why they're feeling like this. And you can't really blame them because they went into this tournament thinking that it was going to be a fun time, but they were the sole reasons that Rush Duels almost got installed if Yugioh was not able to reinstall Rush Duels. So I can understand why they were feeling a little bit guilty. So I really did like that scene. We also get to see the side of Mimi and President Drone, which honestly, that scene was just, I don't know, that didn't hit for me whatsoever. I was kind of a little bit disappointed. When I did my summary preview analysis on that, I really wanted to see President Drone in some way, shape, or form contacting the Goha siblings, even though, yes, we didn't see them on the cast list, but that does not mean that there could have been a mention of him contacting these characters. That way, when we get into episode 54, that could lead into them actually starting to come into the story, and that could have started from that conversation with President Drone, but that ended up not happening. You just had a gag where all of the figurine and toy stuffs they were selling, I can't remember what the heck they were called, actually got shipped back to Goha corporations because everyone hates Goha right now because they were the sole reason that this was happening. Obviously, Otis used to work for Goha Corporation, and now they're blaming Goha for the whole situation, and now their whole likability has just went down. Their sellings of these stuff for Rush Duels are going down now because everything got shipped back. And then Mimi and President Drone have a scene where Mimi's like, we need to try to get to appeal these more kids to bring our status back up, and they bring it below where the desk was at. And Mr. Goha showed different masks that he has, and literally every mask was the exact same thing, but a little bit of a different type of shape. And Mimi says, like, this is not hip at all whatsoever. I mean, yeah, like, probably would have preferred more of a scene of them contacting Goha, the Goha siblings. I really would have liked that more than this scene. This scene just didn't really hit for me whatsoever. I think it's kind of interesting that he has different versions of himself under the seat that they're sitting at. I guess maybe it's because since he's an AI, he can transfer to these different masks. I don't know, but I don't know, that one was kind of a miss for me, and maybe I'm judging that unfairly because of the fact that I wanted something more with the Goha siblings, but I don't know, like, that scene just didn't really hit for me, but that could have been the reason why. But whatever. We go back into the actual school, and this is where we see the scene of Luke terrifying the kids. They end up running away. We also see Swirly, the new character in this episode, or Guru, which is his original name, which I did learn that Guru means swirl, so that's where his whole name comes from. I didn't realize that from the last episode. I still don't know why they can't just keep the original Japanese way they say it, but I mean, I guess they wanted to make it more Americanized for the English viewers, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know. I just don't like when they change the source material because they say Guru, so I wish they could have just kept it by saying that. But it's all right. I mean, it's not that really big of a deal. But we see him in the bushes. He actually picks a leaf off of the bush, kind of similar to if he was drawing a card, and then that's when Luke ends up running into him, says, "Hey, who are you? Do you want to join the Rush Duel Club?" Forces him into the Rush Duel Club, brings Roman and Gakuto, and they have a whole scene where Luke kind of introduces Swirly to them and even gave him the name Swirly, and he can't really talk that much because he's a little bit nervous after the whole situation. Luke keeps yelling at the kid until the kid finally decides that he had enough and just books it out of the room. He basically knocks everyone over. Roman just gets infuriated and just starts chasing after him. Gakuto's trying to calm her down, and then Luke is just sitting there crossing his arms. He's like, "Oh, he's a hyper little one," and just starts laughing. And when they run out of the building, we realize that Swirly ended up getting into the ceiling and was able to get away from them. And then we see him back out in the street, and he actually runs into Yuga. Well, he runs into Yuga in an interesting way, as he doesn't bump into him. He sees him on the side of the sidewalk, as he has a help sign on him, because there's a ladybug on his cheek, and he is petrified by the entire thing until Swirly came by and got the ladybug off of him. And then we eventually learn that Yuga apparently is afraid of ladybugs and bell peppers. I mean, I think this is one of the weirdest character traits that a protagonist ever had. I think the only one that I can think of off the top of my head is Yuma Tsukumo, where he didn't really like tomatoes, which maybe that's a little bit more realistic, and even the bell peppers. I've never known anyone that is not like ladybugs. Now, this is just from my personal experience. Probably some people are afraid of bugs. I can understand that completely, but man, that was just a weird character trait that I did not expect. I feel like this very confident and intelligent kid is scared of ladybugs and bell peppers. And it's funny, it's like the bell pepper thing didn't even get brought up. It was just the fact that he was scared of a ladybug, and I guess he just ended up mentioning that. So I mean, yeah, that was a scene, just to say the least. But he ends up talking to Guru a little bit, asks who he is. He even asks, "Do you hate Rush Duels or anything?" And he's having a hard time speaking with him. Again, he is a little bit shy. And Yuga ends up taking him back underground, the same place where where Yuga met Otis for the first time, and actually was able to summon Otis, which was very surprising. I did not expect that to actually happen. And he basically goes and confronts Otis and says, "Hey, why were you trying to uninstall Rush Duels? Haven't you been trying to help me have Rush Duel succeed in the first place? Why now all of a sudden are you trying to get rid of it?" So he's trying to ask the question that everyone has been asking, basically. And Otis said, "You know what? I'll give you the answers if you can defeat me in the duel." So it seems like we're going to have another Yuga Otis rematch. However, Yuga says, "All right. However, you're not going to duel me, you're going to duel this kid right now here." And Swirly was surprised by this, and he even tries to run away, but Luke ends up stopping him as they end up finding him in that underground thanks to Kaizo, which, by the way, let me just start off by saying this. The more and more Kaizo acts like this, the more and more I'm going to hate him. Just in this episode alone made me believe that Kaizo is my least favorite character. Originally, it was Arya, just because I didn't really care for his character that much, and he's a cheater, and I hate cheaters, but Kaizo in this episode, I swear to God, dude. In this episode, when he got back to Yuga, when he met Swirly, said, "You know, I couldn't find anyone. I was trying to go and get help for you, but I couldn't find anyone that would come and stop and help you." Then we find out when he goes on his own that when he was going to get back, he was just going to laugh at Yuga. He was just going to let him suffer like that, which real a-hole move on you, dude. Like, God, why the hell does this character exist? All I just want to see for this character going forward is I want to see him dismantled and killed off in this show. This is the only character so far in this show where I hope a main antagonist duels Kaizo and rips him to shreds, into pieces. I hate this character with a burning passion. I swear. Oh my gosh. F this goddamn character, dude. Sorry, I wanted to try it. You know what? I don't care anymore. F this damn character. I don't care anymore, dude. I wanted to be a little bit PG because I'm trying to be a little bit fair since this is for a younger audience, but I don't care. I've seen what my viewers are at, so screw this damn character. I don't really care about him. But we get back into the cave. Luke trying to kind of gives Guru a little bit of a pep talk and is able to convince him to actually participate in this duel. And Otis says, like, even though if you do participate in this duel, you're not going to run away from this, even trying to intimidate him. But Luke says, you know what? No, he's not. He is not going to run away from this duel. I know for a fact it is. And he even takes off the glasses that he was wearing in this episode. I mean, this dude was carrying around a guitar, which he won from the tournament, and then he had sunglasses, apparently. So, you know what's funny about that? There was a guitar that was won, but he kept that. So does that mean he kept the cat food as well? I mean, I don't know. That was a very interesting scene, like where he was actually wearing the guitar that he won, and then we know on the prizes it wasn't the glasses, it was cat food. So I don't know. That was a little bit weird, but getting back on topic, the duel itself. General thoughts on the duel. I think it was fine. I wish they could have been a little bit more creative with the duel because it was literally the exact same duel as the first episode except for the third turn. Because the third turn they wanted to do something a little bit special for Guru. And I think one of my things that made it hard for this duel as well is that it was a tutorial duel, which we did not need in the show. We are literally 53 episodes into the show, and they should not be giving us a tutorial duel. Now, I understand for story's sake it makes sense because Guru has never dueled before. However, he was literally not even like 15 minutes ago in the episode was watching kids duel. Well, it's probably 10 minutes after that's when he actually started a duel from when he was watching those kids in the playground, or not playground, I guess in the back of the Yugioh 7th Elementary School. But he should already know how the whole rush duel thing is because he's been watching kids dueling. I mean, you cannot convince me that he wasn't watching them. Then why would he be in the behind the bushes looking over watching the kids rush duel? I mean, it just makes the most sense. But I don't know, like, I just didn't like the whole tutorial aspect. I understand from a story perspective, but for us as a viewer, it makes no sense because we are, again, 53 episodes into the show. We did not need another tutorial episode. Though I will say, though, there was one very interesting thing in this episode that I didn't realize a lot of people did not know, as this is a concept that's actually in the Master Rule format. So the rush duel format actually kept the exact same thing with this, and that is when Cat Familiar attacked Blue Eyes White Dragon after using Sevens Road Wiz, which was one of the new monsters, which it might seem weird at first, but he was using Yuga's deck, so it made complete sense, and everyone thought he was going to summon Sevens Road Magician, but they ended up wanting to change it and to not make it the exact same duel, and they had him play like a kid version of Sevens Road Magician, which is a little bit weird, but I'll get into that when we get to the actual end of this episode. But he uses his Cat Familiar to attack Blue Eyes White Dragon, and nothing ends up happening. Now, apparently, a lot of people don't know this, so I'm going to quickly explain this real quick, and let me know if you guys ever knew about this. I would really like to know, or did it take until this episode for you guys to realize that this is a concept? In Rush Duels and the Master Rule format, there's a rule with 0 attack point monsters when 2 0 attack point monsters battle each other. Basically, ends up happening is it's a similar situation to when a monster with the same attack as the attack, when a monster attacking a monster with the defense points of the same attack points, nothing ends up happening. So when the attack points of the attacking monster attacks a monster with the same amount of defense points, nothing happens. That is similar to when two monsters attack with 0 attack points. Nothing ends up happening. And I do apologize if I explained that a little bit weird. I didn't really know how to explain it. It was a little bit weird. But basically, when two monsters attack with the same attack points of 0, nothing ends up happening, which I'm surprised a lot of people don't know about that, which, to be fair, it's something that doesn't really come up that often, but I was very surprised when people were asking questions about that. A lot of people thought that was an error during the duel, that Blue Eyes and Cap Familiar should have both been destroyed, but that's what actually happens in both Rush duels and the Master Rule format. So that was not a mistake. But other than that, it was literally the same duel as Yugioh versus Otis the first time. So there really isn't much to talk about in this episode other than Sevens Road Wiz, which we already talked about. But then after the duel, you have that scene where Luke, they all confront Guru Guru after the win. Otis decides to leave and doesn't actually tell us anything about him actually doing it, but instead says, "You think I'm the one that did that. However, you have no proof. You have no proof that I was the one that was trying to uninstall Rush Duels." And technically, that's correct. They don't have any evidence of it. Now, we as an audience knows that he did because we literally saw the scene happen. However, for the context of the story, they don't. They don't have any video evidence that he was the one that did it, and they actually don't have any physical evidence because I want to take you guys back to episode 52 as well, because remember that scene where Galliant and Schwer broke down the door to try to stop the uninstallation process? The podium that Otis was standing on was in that room, and guess what ended up happening? They destroyed it. They destroyed potentially the only evidence that they had that Otis was in there. Now, to be fair, there was not always the case that Otis was always on the podium, as back in episode 44, he wasn't actually standing on it. However, throughout the show, most of the time, that podium has always been involved to Otis. I mean, no other character has been on a podium like that. I mean, sure enough, it wasn't President Drone, Mimi, or any character that you can think of. It was Otis. But now that that podium got destroyed in that area, they have no proof whatsoever. To them, it's just a bunch of rubble. So, in the process, Galliant and Schwer potentially destroyed the only amount of evidence that they could have potentially had to prove that Otis was the one that destroyed it. Now, maybe that wasn't even enough because of the fact that it was just a podium and doesn't really matter, but it could have led somewhere if they didn't end up destroying it. So, a false move on Galliant and Schwer, which maybe a lot of people don't actually know that. I actually remember that because I think I mentioned it in the 52 review that I did, so I kind of like that they kind of tied that a little bit to some degree. Now, did it really matter in the end? Probably not, because it probably wouldn't have done anything, but it is something to note that they did end up destroying that. So maybe they did lose some sort of evidence that it was Otis. But then the end of the episode was that Guru Guru wanted to join the Rush Duel Club. They basically agreed with that, and now we have a fifth member of the group. And then you have a funny scene where Luke actually goes and tries to do the entire thing again of getting kids to say he's the king of duels. Luke, whatever his last name is. But one of the characters that he was talking to, one of the little girl, said, "Hey, it's Luke, man." And Luke was very surprised by this, and he kind of gets a little bit embarrassed by that and just bolts off. And apparently, if we find out this is the Tiger punishment that we were supposed to get, as Tiger apparently went under Luke's bed and got a comic book that he ended up writing about himself being Luke Man, and took it to the newspaper club and had them post it in the newspaper. Oh my god, that was the most funniest scene I think I've seen in Seven so far. That scene was just hilarious, and I could feel bad for Luke, and probably that will now stop his arrogance, because holy crap, that might have been the most embarrassing thing, like Tiger stated in this episode, that has ever happened to Luke. So that was just a funny scene, and you even see Guru Guru trying to stop them from going in, and Yuga makes an interesting statement that, you know, you kind of remind me of Luke a lot, and you know, he kind of looks at the room and kind of smiles, and that's how the episode ends up ending, which is a nice parallel. I can actually see it, though I think it's kind of funny that he says that, although he ends up using Yuga's deck. So I don't know, I feel like there is kind of some similarity to Yuga, more so for the deck and then the personality kind of Luke. So I could see why they kind of compared Swirly to Luke. I can actually see the comparisons there. But with that being said, that is going to be it for this episode review, this 3-in-1 review special, I guess you can call it. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your guys' thoughts on these 3 topics. Your thoughts on the opening. Did you like the opening? Did you think it was okay, or did you think it was bad? And the same thing for the ending and episode 53 as a whole. Would love to know all your guys' thoughts on these 3 topics down below. And I will just start off by saying this is probably the longest review you will ever see. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this again. I just wanted to kind of try this out for the first time since I've never done something like this. I originally was going to do the opening and ending as separate videos, but not only did I want to do something special since this was the first episode for season 2, but there was a lot of other Sevens content that I wanted to actually do. So I decided, you know what, let's just do this as a special 3-in-1 special, and we'll just see what ends up happening. So I hope you guys enjoyed this different type of review video. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.